Muy buenos días y gracias por estarnos acompañando aquí en Canciones de Domingo con Silvia por KUHS de Radio y Televisión. Una vez más, ya estamos en otra semanita. Esperemos que todo haya sido bien esta semana pasada para todos ustedes. Y como pueden ver, ya tenemos a nuestro invitado aquí en el estudio que se los voy a presentar en un momento. Good morning. Thank you for being with us here in Canciones de Domingo with Silvia, KUHS, Denver Radio and TV station. I hope your guys' morning is going well and your week was just awesome as well. You guys can see I have my guest already here in the studio, Mr. Charlie Pacello. Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
I'm great, Sylvia. Thank you. It's really great to be here.
I know. I've been meaning to invite you forever, like many years, and I always talked about it to our jefe, Mr. Henry Archuleta, and I always say, like, I need to have Charlie on my show. And it's like, oh, that would be really cool. And we say that all the time.
Oh, it's we're here because it's like if it wasn't for Jefe, none of our shows would be here right now, I mean, so he's really the magic behind the scenes right there. So, I've always wanted to be on your show and to talk to you and just to be participating, and you speak Spanish so beautifully. I was just mesmerized by it. I was like, wow, that is like so nice. I just completely lost my thoughts and everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it only took us 4 years, right?
Yeah, that's right.
About 4 years. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Close to 5 almost. Something like that.
But we started about the same time.
Yeah. So Charlie has his show here, The Council, and that is Fridays.
It's Fridays from 1 to 2 p.m.
1 to 2 p.m. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your show.
Well, it's called The Council, and it's about helping people to heal from PTSD and trauma, to give them some sense of the power that they have within themselves to be able to heal from some of their painful experiences and emotions, and the things that people are traumatized by. I work with a lot of veterans. So we have a lot of a main focus on helping them to understand how to be able to, process the things that happened to them while they were in country, while they were, serving. And so it helps people to heal from trauma. We also have wonderful people that come on and tell their inspiring stories about where they, the trials that they had to overcome, the tragedies they had to overcome, and how they did it, and how they lifted themselves up. And so we do a lot of different varieties to, to help people to be inspired and to give hope and that kind of stuff.
But also, you don't do that just on your show, right? You also work as a counselor.
I do, a little life coach counselor. I help people to try to, get through those problems, and I do a retreats for veterans and other trauma survivors where we spend 5 days intensively, and we work on moving through those challenges and accepting it, and doing these purification rituals and ceremonies and storytelling, and so that as you work through this process, you can see the pain that people have been carrying. You see that, and I feel it's such an honor to be able to help people to move through that, because we don't realize the suffering that people are often going through. That they're hiding behind. We have this public face, and everybody's happy, and we smile pretty and nice and all that kind of stuff, but down inside, we can be in a lot of pain. We can be hurting, and so to help people to get that poison out is what I do.
Well, that sounds amazing, because there's not just one thing, just trying to help somebody through the process and feel it too. I mean, it seems like you're feeling their feelings at the same time.
You are, and it's hard not to, because if you have an empathetic nature, which is you tend to sense and feel other people and what they're going through, and you can sense. And I've had this kind of sense since I was a kid, where I can read people and know what's really going on, even though they might be presenting to everybody that everything is good. I can tell on a subtle level that it's not really good. There's something in their energy, there's something in their body, their posture. And I've had that ability since I was a young kid, and so I didn't know what to do with it. And so a lot of times I would be carrying other people's stuff and feeling sad and upset, and I couldn't, shake it off. And so I had to learn how to be able to take care of myself so that I could be able to take care of others too.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that with empaths,
Mm-hmm.
I know the feeling because I go through the same
Yeah.
thing too. And sometimes we try to help the world,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we carry all their energy and their problems, and when we don't know how to deal with that, it can be so overwhelming that your life actually starts going down,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not a good thing because then you're trying to help other people
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time you're dying inside. It's like, okay, so how does that work?
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to manage all that. So when you finally decided, like, I know that I need to get help so I can learn how to help other people.
Well, it was, first of all, I had to experience being so wounded and getting to the place of, needing to recognize like I needed help. And that's one of the hardest things I think for people to be able to do is to say and acknowledge, I
Yeah.
need to get help, and especially men. We tend to be very stubborn. We tend to be really stubborn when it comes to that because our emotions, we don't tend to handle emotions as well. Our brains are a little bit, our corpus callosum, which links the left hemisphere with your right hemisphere, is smaller than it is in a woman's brain.
Oh,
That's
see
evolution.
that's it. He's
See?
excusing all the guys.
Yeah,
Okay, guys,
that's right.
so
All the
take
guys.
note.
I'm sorry, but it's true. It's just the way it is because we were hunter gatherers for them, and we would go out there and you couldn't be thinking about how you were feeling, when you had a saber-toothed tiger in front of you. You had to think about fight, flight, or freeze, and to get out of there. And while evolutionarily, the women's brains were managing, the tribe. They were managing the kids, so they had to do multiple things at the same time. So we shut our brain off when we come to our feelings, and so we have to learn how to be able to access those and to be with somebody who knows how to access that. So it took me a long time to get there. Yeah,
Wow.
you have to be able to be honest with yourself and say, you know what, something's wrong. And when you're so sad and you're so overwhelmed and nothing seems to be going right in your life, you have to start asking yourself, well, what's really going on? I need to take an inventory and clean some of this stuff up. A lot of the times people don't realize, but things like that symptoms that show up of the problems that are going on in the inside is things like drinking, indulgences, drugs, and those things are ways for us to escape the
Reality.
the reality and the pain that we're going through. And so that's what we do. We run to those things. I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable here. I'm starting to feel a little bit vulnerable. So I'm going to go out and have a few beers. And yeah, that works for the moment. But if that
The
stuff has
problem is
been,
still there.
I'm still there. It's not going away.
What about anxiety and panic attacks and stuff like that? Is that also like a way to kind of like hide
Hmm.
what's going on with us?
Oh yeah, panic attacks are symptomatic of the system going on overwhelm because your nervous system begins to change. Your brain changes and your nervous system changes. So instead of looking for cues of safety around your environment, like right now we have cues of safety, we have each other, we have the screens, so there's cues. But for someone who's hyper anxious or hyper vigilant, suffering from trauma, you're going to be looking for cues of danger, and your brain's going to do that automatically. So your system on panic attacks and overwhelm is when it just becomes so much that your system can't hold on to it anymore. So it has to be released in some way, and so something triggers it, and it's a way for all of that accumulated energy, accumulated stress and emotions, for it to just erupt, and then all of a sudden you're wondering what's happening and why is this happening and going crazy.
Because you know what, I was reading that they said one of the worst illness that you can have is
Mm-hmm.
anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
It says that's one of the worst ones, but they also say that nobody has ever died from anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Depression they do, but they said usually the way to get somebody out of anxiety is depress them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, once they're depressed, then they get out of the anxiety, which is worse than depression. But then once they get into depression, then they kill themselves. So I'm like, okay, so it is kind of like a cycle
Mm-hmm.
that if you don't take care of actually what is going on, from the roots,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be always happening. And like you said, look for either alcohol or drugs or
some other type. I mean, some of us eat a lot, some of us stop eating, you know, so there's different ways of dealing with that stuff.
Well, it shows up as addictions. A lot of it is addictive behavior. Addictive behavior is you actually, it's an issue in the brain. Your emotion brain, your emotive brain starts to override the rational part of your brain, which is the executive function, which is the prefrontal cortex, this part right here. And that's the part that tells you, you know what, I shouldn't be having this beer, or I shouldn't be having this drug, or whatever,
or
this
something.
big cake, or shopping. You know, shopping is another way.
That's true.
That's another addiction.
One. I'm glad I'm not in there.
Me neither. No,
yeah, I don't like it.
And so those addictions start to show up, and then it overrides. It becomes an impulse, and that it releases chemicals in the brain, endorphins. So it becomes something pleasurable. So that addiction becomes something pleasurable. It's associated with pleasure. Your brain responds that way, and then when it no longer has that addiction going to feed it. There's a dearth of those chemicals, that chemistry that feeds that sense of well-being. So in order for me to feel good again, I have to go back to that addiction. Okay. And so you're constantly in that cycle. And then we have a natural homeostasis, meaning we have a natural balance in our body's chemistry. If you upset that balance over time, you know, if you've been drinking and doing drugs or excessive partying over for too much time, your body will become imbalanced. It tries to overcompensate. It tries to bring it back into balance. So then you take out the alcohol or you take out the drugs, and all of a sudden your body doesn't know what to do, and that's where the feeling of withdrawal.
Oh, okay.
And you go into that feeling of withdrawal, and that's where your body's not able to produce those chemicals naturally to give you that sense of, I'm okay, I'm feeling good, but then you're angry, you're depressed, you're suicidal, and then you fall into that cycle again. So it's learning to address what is the root cause, what is the root thing that's actually driving these addictions and these anxieties and this stress. And if you can identify the root cause, then you can start to do something about it.
Well, that is because I'm imagining it's going to be a long process on the withdrawal, just because if you're used to drugs or alcohol, whatever it is, shopping for a long time, and then you go to the process, okay, like I want to actually, you know, take care of, you know, the issue itself, you can't do that anymore. Like, I guess it depends on what type of addiction they go into, right? Like how long it's going to be during the like, I don't know, what is it called, like cure process. So how long do you estimate like somebody actually getting out of that addiction?
It depends on the individual, but usually your brain has to rewire itself. So it takes a few months. It depends on the commitment of the person as well. Because if somebody has been, let's say they've been addicted to drugs for a long time, that withdrawal is going to be very strong inside of them as they're trying to, you know, start a new life and build back a better way of living. So they're going to have to implement some strategies to be able to move through it. You got to remove yourself from the situations and the people that draw you into it. All right, there's people that do that. Your friends are like, come on, you know, let's just go out.
Have a beer and you'll forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. And so they pull you back in. You've got to surround yourself with people that are on the same path with you, so that you can get strength from them. Okay. And you also have to be brutally honest with yourself. You know, you have to acknowledge. You know, one of the hardest things for myself was to acknowledge my addictions. When I had it, you know, I was addicted, and that's why I can speak to these things.
Okay.
I had alcohol and drug abuse, where I was, you know, trying to medicate myself to feel better, and my life was spiraling out of control. And yeah, it was. I started out and I thought it was great, but it was masking all of these unprocessed, undigested emotions and memories and experiences that I had from childhood on that I didn't want to deal with. This was that male brain, you know.
I'm strong and I'm going to do it on my own.
Yeah, I'm going to do it on my own, you know, and or not do it on my own. I'm just going to avoid it, right?
Okay.
Isn't that what like we tend to avoid things?
Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening, right?
Right. Nothing's happening, and so. And then you fall into that spiral where all of a sudden this controls you. You're not controlling it anymore.
Exactly.
And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, my gosh, what just happened? How did I get here? And that's when you got a lot of addicts, and myself included, you hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. You hit that place. And then you have a choice. Either you come up or that's what happened. You're done. That's really it. And so, I had to pull myself out of those environments. I had to address the underlying traumas that were kind of orchestrating all this, that were driving that sense of unworthiness or feelings of inadequacies or sense of guilt and shame that I had in my whatever it was that I was trying to mask with those addictions. And so I had to pull myself out. I had to be brutally self-honest. I had to make a commitment. I had to keep myself away from certain groups and people and cut myself off, engaged in different areas of life that, acting became a big part of my life, and performing and doing things in front of people. And so it slowly, I started to transition out of it. And then when I was finally able to conquer it, it's very liberating to overcome your addictions that way. So anyway,
wow,
not so many people know this. You see?
Yeah, well, that's what makes you also a better counselor too. You're being there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not somebody's gonna tell you. You don't know how hard it is. You're like, wait a minute. I've been there, and you don't know how hard it was for me either. So we're like. Probably it's like a very different situation, but the process is the same. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to be honest, and even if your addiction is little and somebody has it really big, both are going to struggle the same way to get rid of that. So that's what it is.
It's the way it is, and also you recognize too. You have some more compassion and empathy towards that person because you recognize that you're going to have setbacks. You recognize you're going to take a few steps forward, and then you're going to take a step back. And you can't shame yourself if you take that step back, and you got to recognize, all right, yep, I went out, I had another drink, or I had another drug or whatever, okay, and let's get back on the path. And so until you have enough inner structures, inner strength, you've built those inner structures to give you the resiliency you need so you can be impervious.
And don't fall off.
And you don't fall off the wagon again. And so it takes time. But the deciding factor is commitment. And you're committing to that.
It's like exercise. Like a lot of people is like, well, I can't really do exercise. Well, have you tried it? I mean, that's one of the things that I've heard say, like, have you tried it? It's like, well, no, I think it is hard because, like I have this, I have that. And I was like, I have that and more.
Right.
And I'm still trying. It's like, yeah, but sometimes, like I feel like not doing it. It's like, oh, me too.
Yeah.
I have those days too. And it's like, you can't do it. Like last week and the previous week for me, it was so busy that I didn't do it. And I felt terrible about not doing it. Not that I like it either. But it's something that we have to do, to keep ourselves healthy, and to eat the way we want to eat, like a lot of people, say, well, you because the way you look, that's what you care about. No. It's because I want to eat everything that I want to eat.
That's right.
It's like life is so beautiful, and the food is one of our most delicious things, and I'm not going to cut, that out of my life just to look good. So I know how to work and balance that out. But, so, I didn't do good the last 2 weeks. I'm hoping this week is good, and I'm going to do my best. So it's always, the commitment to trying to, is get back to it.
Yes.
Because, that is the best thing for yourself.
And exercise is one of the best ways to be able to feel good about yourself.
Yeah, and addictions, and big addictions too.
Yes. It's adding something because after you do about 20 minutes of exercise, any kind of exercise, whether it's working out, whether it's yoga, which is something which I like to do, whether it's boxing, whether it's running, swimming, whatever it may be, you really, after about 20 minutes of exercise, your brain starts to release endorphins, which is the natural opiates that your body produces. And so you start to feel good, and and it's like, oh, it's hard to get up to that point, right? So you're like, oh God, I don't want to work out, I don't want to lift, I don't want to do anything.
No, it's like you're dragging yourself to it. That's what I do. I drag myself to, I look for any other excuse, like, oh, I just got a message. I need to reply to that message before I get to my workout. And then it's like, you're just hoping they reply back so you can, you just don't get to the exercise.
Yeah.
But, like on the back of your mind, hey, you need to get yourself out there. You need to get yourself to finish your workout and then take care of the other businesses. But that's one of the things too that I have heard of a lot of people that have other type of addictions, that when they start exercising, actually exercising become their addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And, on a way it's good. On another way, we get the ones that go to extremes, and then from there they start doing again other type of drugs to make their bodies, bigger and stuff like that. So it's always, I think there's a balance that has to be, like in your mind before you start doing something, so that way it doesn't get to, same with religion and, with everything, once you start like getting into religion to feel good about yourself, to like, okay, I'm going to be with God now so I can, feel better and feel free from my sins or whatever. But then they go to the extreme too, it's like, they want to change everybody's lives as far as like, okay, you have to become like the same as me, like the same religion or whatever it is. So it's always, I think, like we have to put limits.
Oh gosh, yes. And I think we find ourselves in a very extreme world where everything is being polarized and pulled, and we're living, you have people on the extreme left saying one thing, people on the extreme right saying one thing, and it's pulling us apart. And I think, one of I love philosophy, and one of my favorite philosophers, his name's Epictetus. He was a guy from ancient Rome, Greece time. And anyway, he says, fortify yourself in moderation. It is an impenetrable fortress. So what does that mean? I mean, yeah, that's big words and all that stuff. It says be balanced. Don't get pulled to the extremes. Don't live on the extremes, because if you start living on those extremes, you start acting and
you
some
lose
people,
your self-control.
You lose your self-control. You have no control over those things. All of a sudden now you're starving yourself, because you got to look a certain way.
Yes.
And my body has to be this way, and because and so all of a sudden, the more you start starving yourself and not giving yourself the nutrients, because you've got this, I've got to live and look like a perfectionist. I've got to have this. Well, that's an extreme idea. And so if I'm being perfect, if I'm praying perfect, if I'm working out perfectly, God will love me better. People that doesn't work that way.
No.
And it can lead to anorexia, it can lead to bulimia, it can lead to all kinds of problems.
Damage your body, and that's like when you go to extreme exercises and put in all kinds of things in your body. Because like you were saying, when you lose control of yourself, just to please somebody else, because that's what you're doing pretty much, you're trying to please God, but at the same time, if you're not happy with yourself, how can, it's not connecting there. So it's kind of like, wait a minute, you're not doing the right thing, if you're doing it for somebody else, even if it's for God. If you're not happy with yourself, how can God be happy for you? Like you're not living, your life.
We were all given and blessed with this life. You have a life force within you. I have a life force within me, and it's all part of that. And once we can connect and recognize, it's so precious to be able to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love, to taste food, to smell, to do all those things. It's incredible. And when you can see that within your own life, not in somebody else, and that's why,
everybody's different.
Everybody's different.
Yes.
Don't compare yourself to anybody else. All right, you were given certain gifts that are only unique to you. Just find them out, discover them, look for them. If you've experienced any kind of trauma or any kind of difficulties, problems, work through that so that you can start to embrace your life again the way you were supposed to live it.
Exactly, because envy and jealousy, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like you're not happy with yourself and trying to be somebody else.
Yeah.
That's never gonna work, because guess what? That person already exists. So
yeah.
you never gonna be that person.
Jealousy is
you know?
terrible.
It is.
It
I
is
mean,
a terrible emotion.
you can be like, oh yeah, I want to be a singer too, but you cannot say like I want to be just like that singer.
Yeah.
You know, you can be a singer, but not just like the one you like won the life of.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be your own life. It's gonna be your own career. Everything that you do has to be unique.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said like everybody's like, oh, you like you don't look like so and so whatever. It's like, of course not.
That's right.
I mean, it's like
Right.
we are all unique. There's no comparison, at
Yeah.
all. But a lot of people like to compare, and that's one thing that I don't think is, it should be like anybody just don't live that way, because
Yeah.
then you have your whole life trying to be that person.
You're going to be trying to be somebody else, and then once you start to sacrifice your life to become somebody else, and you change the way you look, and you change that, it actually has a inverted negativity, because you're turning that anger inward, and so you're not really liking yourself. You always find something wrong. You always find something that you don't like. You'll always find something. So rather, is to embrace who you are. Jealousy is not going to lead you anywhere. It's not. It only poisons your heart.
Yes.
It only poisons your soul. And the more you start, holding on to jealous or envious thoughts about, somebody's success in their career, or a relationship, or a marriage, or whatever it may be, all that does is you're the one who suffers for it. And then you take it out on the people that are around you that don't need it, and then you take it out on yourself. And so it's think of jealousy as a poison, and every time you feel it, you've got to exercise that poison and get it out, because it doesn't do you any good.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I see a lot of people, just being jealous about little small things that they're so little, but then they're making their life miserable for just that little one thing. You kind of think like, is that even worth it? No. And like you were saying, it's not just them. It's like their whole, people around them, their families, their friends, their co-workers. Everybody becomes like, I don't know, like if they know how you are, like you kind of start separating them from you.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be around that person that is always, saying, well, so and so has this, and I want that too. And maybe they had it because they did this or they did that, but it's never because their effort. It's always something else. It's
something else. That's not with the time or the effort or the energy that they put into it, that they dedicated to it.
Exactly.
It is something else. They were lucky. They had the right looks. They had the lucky break. They knew somebody. In acting, it was. They knew this casting director, or producer, or director. And I remember when I first started, I was jealous, of course. These are human emotions. These are human experiences that we have. And of course, I'd look at Matt Damon, or, what's his friend's name?
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Oh, yes. Of course, Ben Affleck. I'd be looking like, ow, how, what? And I'd be thinking to myself that, I would be so jealous. I was so jealous. Like, how could these guys, because I'm thinking I'm a better actor, of course. We all think we are. And I wasn't, of course, but I was thinking that. And instead of just looking at the opportunities that were there for me, just doing it because I enjoyed being on stage and doing these characters and the film projects that I had, and embracing and becoming the best performer, actor that I could be. Maximizing my potential and feeling that joy that comes from within for doing
when you're doing it.
You're doing it. Then it doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden that just disappeared. And you're like, wow, I can't believe I was like that. Oh my gosh.
Like instead of like, I'm enjoying this. Oh, and I'm sorry, my shirt is squeaking. So, I mean, that's not my bones.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes they are, but this time they're not. It's the shirt.
Most of the time, about 90%.
90% will be my bones, but no, it's the shirt this time. But yeah, a lot of times, when we're working and instead of enjoying it, we're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do this so and so can see, what I'm doing and stuff like that. Instead of like, no, just feel it, just enjoy the moment. It's something that who knows when it's gonna happen again, especially when you're in this career of acting. It is hard to get a role.
Yeah.
Just even a commercial, it is really hard. So just enjoy everything that you do because and do it for yourself. You know, that's the most important thing. And let me translate what we've been talking about, summarize what we've been talking about in Spanish, because there's a lot, and I don't want to, you know, like say every single word, but I want our Spanish speaking audience to understand a little bit what we're talking about. Ok, bueno, pues como les dije que vamos a tener a nuestro invitado, él es Charlie Pachelo. Él tiene su show de radio aquí también en KUHS de Radio y Televisión. Se llama El Consejero. Y lo que es su show es acerca de tratar ¿cómo se llama? La depresión y el estrés y todas esas cosas que vienen por decir, de la gente que fue a la guerra y que vienen con esos problemas mentales, de las cosas que vieron, de las cosas que ellos tuvieron que hacer y todo eso. Entonces él ayuda a muchos veteranos a que sobrevivan, sobrepasen esa etapa de su vida, porque todos los que han ido a esos lugares pues vienen desgraciadamente con ese trauma por salvar nuestro país. Entonces, y eso pues es en todo el mundo, no nada más aquí en nuestro país. Cualquier persona que haya ido a la guerra, ya sea de China, de Japón, de donde sea, viene con esos problemas mentales. Entonces lo que él estaba diciendo también, que muchas veces es muy difícil ayudar a la gente porque, especialmente a los hombres, porque tienen ese sistema, ese mecanismo en el cerebro que dice, ¿saben qué? Yo soy hombre, no pasa aquí nada, yo voy a sobrepasar las cosas yo solo y vamos a ignorarlo. No pasa nada, aquí seguimos. Y dice él que eso viene desde hace muchos años, desde ¿cómo se dice? Las épocas de los hombres de la prehistoria, donde ellos salían a cazar. Entonces la mujer se quedaba en la casa, en la aldea, ellos lidiaban con la tribu, ellos organizaban todo, las mujeres, y el hombre era regresar con comida para la tribu. Entonces dice que hay algo en el cerebro de nosotros que es lo que pone juntos el cerebro izquierdo y el lado izquierdo y el lado derecho, donde pues es el racionalismo y el, pues como dice, el arte, lo que sea, es más grande el lado en la mujer que en el hombre. Entonces por eso es que también pasan esas cosas. Entonces le digo, es una excusa para todos los hombres que no pueden hacer muchas cosas al mismo tiempo. Esa es la excusa, eso tiene su razón de ser. Entonces dice que muchas veces por eso el hombre no podía decir, ok, estoy enfrente de un león, vamos a pensar muchas cosas. No, era de que me quedo aquí, me come, o salgo corriendo, o a ver cómo lo mato. O sea, no había muchas opciones. Entonces es por eso que todavía el hombre se crea como que no puede hacer muchas cosas para defenderse o sacar sus sentimientos, o que vea a la gente los sentimientos y trabajar lo que tienen, lo que está dentro de ellos. Entonces dice que muchas veces eso se convierte en adicciones, las drogas, el alcohol, las compras, sexo también. Sexo también, y muchas otras cosas. Entonces ellos, mucha de la gente, pues ahora sí, no nada más hombres, también mujeres, se refugian en esas adicciones para no darse cuenta o no trabajar las cosas que tiene uno por dentro. Entonces es como salen ellos o como lidian con eso, pero todo eso es temporal. O sea, cuando pasan los efectos y eso, vuelve otra vez uno con todas las inseguridades, con todos los problemas que tiene uno. Todo es temporario, no se cura por siempre, al menos que ya encuentren la causa del problema y trabajar desde adentro hacia afuera cómo es que vamos a solucionar esto. Y él lo que tiene también, no nada más tiene su show del consejero, pero también en su vida de día a día ayuda a gente con como campamentos. Son campamentos, they're 5 days, you said, the camps that you do.
Or the veteran camps?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're healing camps. It's retreats.
Retreats.
Yeah.
And they're 5 days?
5 days, 5-day retreats. Yeah.
Okay.
4 to 5 days retreats.
Ok, so lo que hace son como 5 días de los campamentos para curar así como a los veteranos o a la gente que tenga esos tipos de problemas, y pasan por diferentes fases para poder llegar pues, a curarse. Como dice él, hay muchos que tienen se atrasan un poquito, se salen de la línea un poquito, pero eso es normal, al menos que tengan, nada más tienen que tener el compromiso de hacerlo, que cuando salgan que está bien, tomaste una cerveza, volviste a hacer drogas, te fuiste de compras, pero ok, ya, otra vez, regresa y a seguir la línea y seguir. Y dice que muchas veces muchos tienen diferentes, se salen diferentes veces, entonces es nada más el compromiso de ya saber lo que uno tiene y trabajar en ello, no importa, dice que muchas veces depende de la persona y del compromiso que hagan, de cuánto tiempo quiere, cuánto tiempo es para que dejen completamente las adicciones y lidiar con el problema. Una de las cosas que también estamos hablando es que él también pasó por eso, él también estuvo en las drogas y en el alcohol, entonces dice que para él por eso también se le hace fácil saber lo que está pasando a la otra persona, cuando son empatas, creo que así se dice la palabra en español, cuando son empatas, pues sentimos las cosas que siente la otra gente y nos cargamos de esa energía también y de los problemas y todo eso, entonces al no saber lidiar con eso, también nos producen problemas a nosotros, y fue que él aprendió también ya después de eso cómo lidiar con eso y cómo poder ayudar a otra gente, porque dice que desde que él estaba chiquito él tenía ese sexto sentido de saber cómo estaba la persona, que la persona estuviera muy alegre y todo eso, él sentía cómo la persona estaba en realidad, y eso le ha ayudado a él mucho con el trabajo que él está haciendo. Y dice que una de las cosas que él le ayudó a salir de todo eso fue la actuación. También él es actor, así que también tenemos eso en común, que dice que él también es actor, y muchas de las cosas también que estamos hablando, cuando uno tiene esos traumas de estrés, esas cosas que no quiere uno sacar completamente de la raíz, se vuelve también es la ansiedad, la depresión, los ataques de pánico. Y muchas de las cosas o muchas de las enfermedades, una de las peores es la ansiedad, y es lo que dicen, que también la ansiedad es la peor, pero dicen que muchas veces los doctores ponen al paciente en depresión para que salga de la ansiedad, entonces ya cuando está deprimido es cuando se vuelven como suicidas, entonces dice que por eso se tiene que arrancar y tratar el problema desde la raíz para poder ayudar a la persona. I'm trying to think if I kind of forgot something else important there. Pues sí, pues es de lo que estamos hablando. Si tiene alguna pregunta, mándenosla. Voy a compartir ahorita en mi página, porque no he podido compartir en mi página el show. Si tienen preguntas, mándenosla, por favor. Okay, so we continue.
Oh my, that was amazing. How did you do that?
I had no idea.
My goodness, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
Now I turn it red. I turn it red, like purple. Well, I turn purple because I'm brown, so yeah. You ain't had me turn red.
I turned red. No, I turned bright red.
Yeah, no, I turned purple. So yeah, I got purple now. No, but that's one. But let me share real quick to my other page. I know that if for some reason it wasn't letting me share it in here, so but let me see. So I apologize, guys. It didn't let me use my iPad first. I don't know why.
Well, I was really impressed. I mean, to be able to do that and just like seamless, I was just completely mesmerized.
You understand Spanish, right?
A little bit of Spanish because of the Italian. We have the Italian, a lot of similar words and stuff.
Yes.
But, your diction and the way you say the words is just really like, my goodness, wow.
I try my best.
Like, wow.
I try, but you know,
to translate all that, because that's a lot of material to translate, and it's not like your light material. There's some heaviness to it. There is some depth to it.
A lot of information.
A lot of information.
Deep information. Yeah. So that's why I try to, I'm still trying to give excuse to the guy, so I couldn't miss the part,
right,
the brain. So I'm like, okay, I need to put that in there. But yeah, sometimes it's just, and of course I cannot translate word by word because we've been talking for a while. So I try to summarize the most important things, and especially, like you said, a lot of people don't know about your addictions, that you had, and that you went through that as well. A lot of times people think that we just talk because we just can.
Yeah,
we have a mouth,
right. We just like to talk.
Yeah, and we watch a lot of shows and movies and stuff like that, but they don't know our struggles before,
God, yeah.
And I don't know, I think you're like me, like when we have a bad day or something, we don't go to social media and start saying blah 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 blah, and if you and if everybody, because something happened and stuff like that, it's like, no, I mean, we have a lot of negativity already going on to be putting that type of stuff out there. But we are the type of people, like if somebody comes to us and said, you know what, I'm going through this, like, oh, I can direct you to the right person, or I can, just give you an advice or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, but how do you know? Like, well, I went through that, but you never said anything. Well,
Well, you know what, and it's sometimes it's people don't you don't see what other people are going through because they're just they have to be the strong one.
exactly.
And I think you have, for your family and for everybody, you've had to be strong and you've had to learn how to be able to keep those emotions and those feelings and those experiences away from everybody because when you're in the public eye, that can be exploited. That can be used against you.
Yes.
That people can
When
take
we're in those
advantage of. When you're
things,
doing these kinds of things, if all of a sudden people know about these things, they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, did you hear what Sylvia? What's going on with Sylvia? Or do you hear what's going on with Charlie?" It becomes, this big thing, and we also have challenges. We also have gone through.
we're normal. That's what I tell
Yeah.
people. We're normal. We're just like anybody else. A lot of people think that, like I wake up like this. No, 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 no. No, I don't wish that either. No. But it's not easy. You take your time, you get ready. A lot of people say, you have your genes. That's why you look like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't get up and exercise, struggle exercising.
Yeah.
It's me, it's my body. The one that gets up and do it. I mean, probably it will help. Like, yeah, like I don't lift a lot of weights just
Mm-hmm.
because in my genes, like my muscles get really big.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, I respect everybody that have big arms and they love them as females, but
Mm-hmm.
in myself, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do a lot of less weight, a lot of repetitions, but it's one of the things that you have to know your body to be able to see, okay, we're eating too much, we're drinking too much, like for me, probably, I don't know, like I'm going to confess, one time I took 5 shots of tequila and they didn't do anything to me, which I don't drink, so
Yeah.
it was kind of weird that it didn't do anything to me. So, it's like, okay, well, I know now that maybe 8 is
Just 8 shots of tequila, that's my limit.
That's my
it.
limit, yeah.
Just
Some
do
other
8.
people just one,
Yeah.
so we're all different.
Yes, and being able to recognize that there's so much that goes on in order to be able to even just do a show like this. There's hours and hours and hours of work that goes into doing an hour and a half show, or an hour show. The setting of the schedule, organizing, preparing, doing the research,
Talking to the guests a lot of times too. Like we know, everybody's busy, and sometimes you have to talk to them when they're off hours.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people. I mean, there's in other countries when we're doing the Zooms. You have to like wait for their daytime or their nighttime. So it's like you're always online, and people are like, "Well, you're online." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm not just like online just because I'm working." And people's like, "You're working."
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how we contact our guests or whatever. When sometimes it's easier doing it on during through social media than just a phone number. So. I don't know. It just depends. I think of the person, but it's a lot of stuff that goes through it, and a lot of people say, "Okay, well, you just get in front of the camera, take pictures, take videos, and that's it."
It's not that.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. It really isn't.
Have you had any guests that there will be like, I mean, they're like already famous or they have a career, so they had to be in front of the camera, and it's still when they come out, they're nervous?
Oh God, yeah. No, I had he was a celebrity guest. What the heck's his? He was Saturday Night Live. I can't remember his name right off the hand, but they had all these handlers, and we had to do all this coordination to be able to get him on, and he was he had a film that he just released, and so they had to like get him in a situation, but you could tell he was still a little bit hesitant and nervous, not sure what this council thing was all about, because they get so overwhelmed from so many different directions.
Yes.
That they don't know what's legit and what's not, and so it takes a little bit of time to get to a place where you can do this and do it well, and there's so much work that's involved. I love it, but I didn't realize how much
how much work it is. Yeah, and like you said, there's when they have too many like representatives, assistants, handlers, and things like that, they never really actually get the information that they should be getting. So when they come here, they're like,
Well, and I didn't even know if he was going to come on. Like it was like one of the last minute things. It was just you had to send all this information out, the coordination. They come back. I had to change up the way the questions were, and then coming back. And so it was a last minute thing, whether or not he was going to show up or not. So it was just and you just
like and your toes, like you have it like. And so, so for your show, when they ask you, I mean, do you have questions? Do you have written down questions when you have your guests?
Well, I do. I tend to, I set it out about 20 questions that I want to be able to focus on, so that we are able to focus on certain content, whether they have a nonprofit, whether they have a different kind of healing modality, or they're trying to communicate, something that they're energy medicine, and to help people to understand what energy medicine is, different things. So I need to craft a certain list of questions for them so that we can convey that in an hour time frame. Also invite them to participate by sending me some questions so that it gets them involved as well, so that they're feeling like this is their show, and that it helps them to relax a little bit. A lot of times people, when they're in front of a camera, they freeze up,
Yeah.
like this,
and then they have
so
so much stuff in their head, but they can't say it because they forget it, and then you close the interview. It's like, I was going to say, that's what I got. My guests usually, I want to say about 80%. They say like, so what are you gonna ask me? And so I tell them, I like to go, well, like career-wise and a little bit of personal life, so that way people gets to know the person, like, so they can see that if you are where you are, they can do the same thing too, so like kind of seeing the type of passion that you put in this, that you have about this, so that way if they have it, they can follow it. Because a lot of times people think that, okay, that's easy, like I want to do that, but they want to do it for the wrong reasons. They don't either have the passion, the patience, or the love for it. They want to do this because it's glamorous, give you status, you're, popular and stuff like that. It's like
they want fame, but they don't, but they don't recognize that that's another drug. All right, that's another addiction. And if you're doing it for that, it will eat you up. It will destroy you. If you're doing it, you've got to know your why. Why am I doing this? What is the purpose behind this? And this was what I had to discover, because yes, I was jealous of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and these guys. How'd they do it? Why? And I'm just coming out of the military, and I wanted to be this great stage and film actor, but I wasn't willing to put in the work. There's a lot of work that goes into that.
Yes.
You got years and years and years of doing it, and it's honing your craft and developing it and taking the time and doing plays that nobody knows about, in front of audiences that only get to see extras. Did all kinds, oh my gosh, extra work at the studios to get into set.
And then sometimes you don't even make it as an extra, like they cut you off, like, I was right next to that person.
Yeah, I was right there. I was right next to him. I was watching it as it happened, and they cut you out.
Yeah, they edit it, and then you're out. So.
And it was something that it got to the point that's when they cut completely cut. But anyway, so you've got to know why you do what you do.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that I loved about acting, is it taught me. As I was coming out of the military, I was in the Air Force for 10 years. 5 years at the academy, 5 years active duty. And so I was switching gears. I mean, it's not a normal route in life to go.
Yeah, usually from military you go either to computer science or
defense contracting, doing those things. And so instead I go completely on the other side of my brain and to the creative side. And so I had to start over. So I was a student again and had to learn, and it fed my soul. I was drawn to just the fame part of it, and doing these reality TV shows, which I soon realized were not really reality.
No, they have a script.
You know what they would do? they would have us, and I did this thing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm telling you this. But we did this thing when reality TV was first coming on. There was a show called The Fifth Wheel. I don't know if you remember.
MTV.
Yeah, no, it was MTV. I was on it. I was one of the first 10 when they were pitching the show. I was on it.
Wow. Oh, you're the ones that they're like our age. No
more about it, exactly. And at that time, I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I was such a foolish man at the time. But you're so caught up in I'm trying to do this and I'm posturing and I'm doing all these things for the camera and all this stuff. And they're trying to focus on our lowest common denominator, right? That was the fifth. There was 2 girls and 2 guys, and then the fifth wheel would come on. And in my show, it was a beautiful woman, right? She comes on and so they're having us talk to her this way, and they would frame these questions. So behind the camera, they would be like, all right, try to talk to her this way, or try to add this, and think about, try to make this person jealous, and all these different things.
Okay.
So they're crafting it so that they can play a certain kind of storyline. That's not really what's going to create the drama. They're manufacturing the drama behind the scenes. It wasn't really reality.
You're like, I even like that guy.
And all of a sudden now you're at odds with the people that you're with in order to get ratings, And I was like, this is not what I want to do, But so I was sucked into that, and then I had to find my why, when it came to acting was being able to express and to create a soul that can touch and change people's lives. Completely different. Completely different. You're coming from a completely different, when you understand.
From totally fake to, okay, let's do reality.
Yeah, authentic. How can I be authentic and truthful to this character in this moment? And why am I doing it? I'm doing it for the audience, so that they can grow, they can change, they can transform.
Yes.
Have you ever been to a show or a movie where you came out of there and it stayed with you?
God, I have a movie in my head that it got me depressed actually for, I want to say about 5 years, and it's still in my head. That was The Green Mile. I watched the movie, and I think I cried forever. And for the next 7 days, I couldn't watch another sad movie. Actually, I just started watching it, so let me think. So about 20-something years in depression about movies, sad movies. I couldn't watch any sad movies, and especially somebody went to jail or somebody that was, with no money and things like that. But The Green Mile, I watched the movie, and it totally changed me.
Well, that's what it is. It affects you. It doesn't leave you. The performances that those actors do, they remind you. There were some certain plays that I've watched, and I would start crying and grieving, and I'd be, feeling it for days and days, and I'm like, wow, what is that? What is
so
that?
empathetic. That's another bad thing about us.
Yeah.
They think so serious.
It's so heavy.
Yes. And then, when that Green Mile actor passed, not too long ago, boom, it went again. I was like, no, guy, you can't do that to me. You cannot die for real, So it was hard.
It is hard, and that's what it is. And all of a sudden, that's what I learned. That's the kind of performing. That's the kind of acting I want to do.
Yes.
That affects people and lives. It lives in them.
Yeah.
It changes them. They see the world differently because they were able to see for just a moment through my character's eyes, and it opens their heart a little bit.
Yes.
That's what that is your heart's getting cracked open.
Bad.
and we live in a world where we want to block that.
Yes.
We don't want people to see our hearts.
Yes.
We don't want them because most of us have been hurt. Most of us have let
they
that
just
heart
open the heart and not just they open all the wounds that we have in there already closed, and it's like, dude, the stitching just go.
Just want to block
yourself.
It's
like, oh my God. It's like, a lot of the movies, the animated movies now, they had to have the sad part, and I'm like, Well, another movie that actually marked my life so bad, it was The Little Mermaid, but I watched it in Spanish. I don't know if it was translated from some other country. It looked totally different than The Little Mermaid from here, and the end is totally different than the one from here.
Really?
So I got out of the movie theater, and I think I was like 5 years old, and my dad was holding me, saying, "It's gonna be a second part where she comes back," you know, and because on that one, actually, the Little Mermaid turns into bubbles. So that supposedly is the breeze of the bubbles from the ocean. That's the Little Mermaid. So my dad is like, the bubbles get together and she comes back, and you know, and he told me that for years. So I waited for years for that movie to be remade as, you know,
Wow.
as a Little Mermaid coming back. Same with The Last Unicorn. I don't know if you saw it, like back on the day. I cried with that movie forever. So even though like it's an animated movie, I always thought, is it sad? Does it have it sad? Yeah, but you know, at the end, I'm like, oh
no. Wow, it was that different? I didn't realize that they had a different mermaid ending.
Yeah, I had to Google it to see if I can find it, and I'll send it to you. But it was like the saddest.
That's a sad ending to the Little Mermaid.
So when they got it out here, and I'm like, I ain't watching it. I'm not watching it.
I'm not doing it, no.
And then I saw it. I forgot. I think it was one of my nieces, you know, that was watching the animated movies, and I was like, wait, this is not the Little Mermaid I watched when I was little. But yeah, it was, maybe it was a Japanese version, because, you know, there were like the long characters with, you know, like the long hair, big eyes and stuff. And but I'm going to search to see if I can find it. But it was a really sad movie.
Yeah, well, you know what, animating movies, they can affect us that way. When I was a little boy, and this is, I don't know where this came from and I don't know why, but I went with my grandmother to watch Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, right? We went to go watch Snow White. And I cried and cried and cried because I didn't realize Snow White was a woman. I thought it was a man.
Oh.
And I was like, I don't know. And my grandmother was like, what's wrong? You know, my parents were like, what's wrong with Charlie? You know, I'm 3 years old. I don't know what's wrong. At 3 years old, he just discovered Snow White was a woman.
So you always thought it was a man?
Well, as a boy, you know, a little kid, I didn't know why, you know.
Maybe because like the Seven Dwarfs, you know, so you thought maybe it's another guy. I mean, how is a girl gonna live with 7 guys?
Yeah, well, you know, maybe it was I was very bashful and shy as a young kid, and so girls always made me feel like, you know, bashful, and so, you know, I wanted Snow White to be a man, I guess. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, that means I gotta be the prince, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's just different. You know, that is very different. But you know, even those characters, animated characters, make us feel different. You know, they can make us depressed, laugh. I mean, you know, after like so many animated movies, I was like, oh, I want to watch this SpongeBob. You know,
I know.
He will make me laugh, and you know, it's like, okay, we can deal with it.
Well, the other thing, when I was a kid, I thought I wanted to be Superman.
Oh, okay.
You know, so I mean, I guess I really had this. No, I did. I tried to fly. I tied a Superman cape. I was, again, 3 years old. I don't know. I was like, Snow White needs to be a man, and I wanted to be Superman. I don't know what was going on in my little head, but I wanted to be him. I thought I was, and I tied a cape around my neck, and I'm trying to jump off of the stairs, and I am, and I'm jumping off the way high ones, and they're like, no, Charlie, come down, come down. So I went to go see the Superman movie with Christopher Reeves, right?
Yes.
And I went to go see it, and you know, when he picks up the car with his hands after he lands, when I realized I wasn't Superman, and so I was so depressed, and I don't know, it was like so sad.
You're like, I couldn't fly.
I couldn't fly, and I was like, I guess I'm never gonna fly, you know?
My brother did that.
Did
he jumped out of a roof, and he was fine, but he thought he was that, and then one time he put this jacket on, and I think actually it was my jacket, if I remember right, and he's like, I'm Hulk, and he went like this and ripped the whole jacket off, and I'm like, yeah, that was my jacket. But
so we have lives. We have, you know, I mean, we had history. We have different things. I mean, what people see in front of us when they're watching the show and everything is they don't recognize we've had, all these little, stories that make us who we are.
Exactly. And it took, it's not like this, like you snap your fingers. I mean, for some people it is like, you know, they get discovered on the street by like a big director or something, and they're automatically become famous and stuff. But you know, I want to say that probably like 90%, no, 98% of the time, like people actually have to work
Oh God.
for, you know, to be in front of a screen. Either will be a small, big, whatever you want to call it, TV, movie theater, in well, the ones that we're passionate about, you know, I think we just want to transmit the feelings to you, you know, even if it's, you know, like sometimes that I do the photo shoots, you know, I want to transmit that, you know, whatever it is that the photographer is looking for, that I'm looking for, or the ambience, you know, whatever it is, you know, a lot of times I get criticized by my pictures, and they don't understand, you know, the why behind it, you know. Even just simple pictures. I posted these pictures from my vacation in Florida. Florida, like clear water, beach, sun, you know, the ocean, everything. And I was told I was a mom. Why was I posting pictures in my bikini? I was like, well, I was in Florida and like at the beach, so I didn't know that I was supposed to be wearing something else.
Yeah.
And I post my pictures.
We'll see. I guess I need to do whatever you guys want me to do.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
And then I'm a mom now.
Yeah, you're a mom.
So I'm supposed to do that stuff, and it's like, well, you know, sorry about your life being so weird, but you know, mine I thought was normal as far as that goes.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it is something that seems like people are just looking for any details, you know, to criticize you, not really look at the work that you have done. Also, like I work my butt off, you know, to look the way I do. So, you know, of course, I want to wear a bikini if I want to, you know. I'm not gonna wear it here, but you know, if you're gonna see me at the beach,
at the ocean,
you're gonna see me probably with a swimming suit or bikini.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, that would totally make sense. Like if you came out with you know, a winter coat and, you know, galoshes and all that stuff. If you're like, Sylvia, why are you wearing this? This is the beach. Why
exactly. Like, if you see me up in the months, yeah, you're definitely not going to see me in a bikini. I know there's some models that they have done photo shoots, you know, like on the snow with a bikini and stuff. But, you know, besides, I get sick like this. And no, that's not my thing.
Well, you know what? It's like to get to a place where you're comfortable in front of a camera. It took me years to do that. Like I had to do student film after student film after student film, but I was living in Los Angeles at the time.
Oh, okay.
And having to learn how to be able to.
Here, that jefe came with a joke.
Came with a joke. So it took me a long time to be able to get there because you had, you know, I didn't know how to. There's a skill set that you have to learn how to. You're going to act differently on the stage than in front of a camera because the camera is going to catch everything, every little thing. You know, and I'm sure that with photo shoots, you understand that it sees everything.
Yes.
There's no, you can't run from it. You know, and the same thing with the video camera or the film camera. And so I did, oh my gosh, 60, 70 films that nobody knows about. But little films, learning how to be able to convey emotions, intensity, how to be able to see where my eye line is and where to be able to do that, to feel comfortable enough to be able to be me in front of that, because there's a natural tendency for us to try to do something that, you know,
the camera is like,
the camera's on, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like, we'll be fine, we'll be talking like this, and as soon as the camera's on, I got to do this, you know.
Yeah,
and
like, we have to get through
this, and then you're putting on all these airs, and then as soon as the camera goes off, you're like, you know, and so it's learning, how do you allow people to see into you? And that's so hard.
Exactly.
Because if you're not comfortable with yourself, you can't do it, and especially with modeling. It's vulnerable. You know, you're allowing people to see into you and do that. And so you've got to really have a sense of who you are as you're doing. And you've got to learn the skills. I mean, it takes a long time to get to do what you do and do it well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that a lot of people are just like, well, how am I to do this? Like, well, yeah, it's going to require some work. And they don't really, you know, want to put that work in. Or they say, oh, did you do it? I'm like, well, one of the things I'm gonna tell you, I never really actually did any modeling classes or anything like that. That just came out. I want to say that was natural.
And sometimes we have natural gifts like that.
Yeah.
That just are natural. They're just we can just do things.
Yeah, people learn fast certain things, and
some people are great in mathematics.
Exactly.
Some people are great in science. They can do things in their head that we can't do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We all have something unique. That's we go back to that uniqueness of every person. It's not that I'm better because I'm here. You're better because you're what you are. Or somebody's better because they're mopping the floors. No, I think we all have our own thing. There's a lot of people that they clean their houses amazing.
God,
it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe if I put the time and effort.
I was really, like there's some, like my mom, she loves to clean. And she just loves it. I mean, and she just wants to clean all the time, clean other people's house. She just loves it.
She gets there and starts speaking
and cleaning it and doing all that stuff. That's not me. Some people are like that. That's not me.
I used to do that, and then I realized people were kind of thinking that I was weird, or like, you're invading their space. I'm like, okay, I'll stop. So I get to a house, and I'm just like, like, okay, I'm not gonna do it.
So have you always been empathic? I mean, I know you are. I've sensed that. You can read people. You get that. Were you that way as a little kid?
Yeah, as a little kid, actually, they used to call me like witch, or like I was weird and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna, because I would say something and it would happen.
Yeah.
Or like.
So you're psychic too. You're able to.
Well, I don't know. I just see some things, and then the things that sometimes you see, and then you're like, no, let's give him a second chance, or a chance to prove me wrong, and then like I knew it. I knew it. I should have done it. That happens to you too.
Oh gosh, yeah. You did that little gut thing, and you're like, so many times, that, and that's where I was learning how to be able to not take on other people's stuff.
Yes.
And their issues, their insecurities, their dramas, folks. If you have a lot of drama in your life, I guarantee you there's deceit.
Yes.
I guarantee you. You might be lying to yourself. It might be the person that's around you. It might be somebody who's not being who they claim they're going to be, or trying to. But if you have a lot of drama, there's a lot of deceit. And so not taking other people's drama, being able to separate that, that this is your stuff, this is your perception of the world. It's not my perception. It's got nothing to do with me.
Yes.
But that took me a long time to learn, because, I'd be like, all right, well,
I'll help you with that,
and I'll do it.
Just spending time, and then turn around.
Yeah. I love the people that are smiling at you, and then they put the knife in your back at the same time.
Oh my God, that's one of the things. And actually, Charlie, I'm learning that. I'm learning how to not to take over, a lot of that stuff. And I've been doing it for the last couple weeks, because it was getting to be too much, into like, okay, like living, like stop doing my own stuff, so I can help other people. And then realizing like, okay, I can't catch up with my stuff. This is too much. And now the person turned around and just stabbed me on the back.
Yeah.
It's like, no, okay. Now that's what I said. Like if you guys ever need any type of advice or direction, we can guide you to the right people. Like we're not gonna take over anymore.
No, I'm not doing it anymore. Sorry, those days are done.
Yeah, we kind of level up a little bit.
That's right. We've moved up. We've advanced. We've leveled up.
Yes. Because it always happens. I mean, it's not that we want to, talk stuff or anything, but it pretty much, I want to say probably just like 2 people out of like all the people that I have helped, during my life, they have turned around and stabbed me, and I'm just like, and I knew it. Like we said, we knew it, and then we tried to make excuses for them. We're like, they're going through this, they're going through that, I can't just leave them, or they did this to me because of what they're going through. And it got to the point that I was like, you know what, I'm the one that needs help. I'm the one that needs to learn how to say no.
That's
and
right.
Trying to guide you, like say, we cannot save the world, and we cannot help anybody that doesn't want to be helped, and they also like come and ask you, but at the same time is like direct them where the help is at, not us keeping the problems and all those issues that that we know we don't need.
We don't need
we have enough.
You take enough, and all of a sudden you're taking the responsibility for their issues. You know, they're projecting, excuse me, they're projecting all of that stuff onto us.
Yes.
And because of your empathic nature, you're going to absorb it because you care, you have compassion, you love people, you want the best for them. So you take it on. So now they don't necessarily have to deal with it. You're going to deal with it for them.
Exactly.
You're going to take it for them. How nice of us to do that. How nice of you to do that for others. And then you're left feeling icky, and you're feeling, you know, like there's something wrong with me. Why do I feel this way? And they're okay.
Yes.
And they're like, what's your problem?
Yeah, and then they always say like, I feel so good after I talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the opposite.
I feel completely the opposite. I feel so much better after I talk to you.
And the thing is, like, then later, it's not that you help them out. It's an expectation from them.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way that you can say no anymore because now you're rude, you're mean, you're this and that. It's like, no, it's just, we just don't have the time,
yeah.
you know?
When you start to try to set boundaries.
Yes.
And they get angry at you for setting the boundaries with them.
Yes.
It's like, wait a second.
Like, well, I already helped you as much as I could.
Yeah.
And it's not just you. There's all these other people that are coming to us for your help as well. And there you are trying to help everybody. And everybody's getting upset because you're not spending all this time with them. But at the same time, it's like, we're just, like, now we know. We direct you to the right people, you know, where you need to go. Or, you know, I mean, like they're saying, you know, God is helping you when somebody is telling you, you know, there's a group that can do this for you. Or there's a group that they're getting together every so on. And, you know, you talk about your stuff. And then from then, there's so many specialists that they can do that. Because there's people that actually went to school for this stuff. That we were doing for free.
Even I went to school for this stuff and being able to talk about these things. But I still didn't, because one of my patterns was I would fall into a very, I had no boundaries. So I would just, it was like I would form these codependent relationships.
Yes.
I would merge without even knowing it, without consciously knowing what I was doing. I would merge my emotional nervous system with other people's systems in order to feel them and sense them so that I could help them. But what I didn't realize is that I was now absorbing all of their stuff, and that's why they were feeling better and I was feeling terrible. So, and I had to learn how to set those boundaries, and it's because codependency is basically you sacrifice your needs in order to manage other people's emotions and issues and problems and dramas and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in order to get back to your needs, to feel safe, to feel valued, to feel appreciated, to feel cherished, all of those things. So it's not sustainable.
No.
Not at all. And so you've got to learn how to, and I was one of the hardest lessons I had to learn.
Mine too.
You know, it was just really tough.
And that's what I was saying, like, it's been a couple of weeks that I've been learning this just because, you know, it gets overwhelming. But that, you know, the craziest thing for us, I think, is to find somebody that help us.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know, we help everybody, but when it came to us, like, I usually found out, like, okay, so, hey, anybody raise their hand? And you have millions of people there, and nobody actually was able to help you, you know? Or they will help you the way, like, oh, here's an specialist, go to this specialist. Like, you're like, oh, okay, well, I do that, but I don't even, I was like, okay, something's not making sense in here. And then you realize it's like, okay, you're the one that needs to change.
Yes.
You're the one that needs to start putting boundaries, limits, and, you know, whatever it is, even their family, their friends, you have to, because it is your own life, the one that is being affected, and then we affect our surrounders, you know, so.
Yeah, your family, your children, your partners, everything.
Work. I mean, a lot of, how many times do you like, I can't work because I have this problem of so-and-so's, you know, and I need to help them out, and or like you're late to work because you're listening to that person like the whole time, or you know, things like that you like, no, this is more important, you know, so you take everything of yours as a, like, on the second level of, you know, priorities, and leave them on the first priority, and then, like, you realize, like, once they're good, they don't even call you.
They only call you when they need you, or they're in trouble, or they're in danger of some sort, or something, and so they're like vampires.
Yes.
They're going to suck the energy out of the people that are around them, because they don't have the skill sets or the tools to be able to say, all right, wait a second, this is what's going on inside of me. It's not somebody else's responsibility to take this off of me. It's my responsibility to learn, to figure this out, what's really going on, why is this happening, and I have to do that for me. I have to excavate inside of me. I can't put it on Sylvia, Let me
well, not now. Before you were.
And it was like, my gosh, I'm gonna just, take this person's life force. I mean, you're actually. That's why empathic people can feel so drained.
Yes.
There is an interaction with people, and this is a good indicator for all of you who are listening right now. Whenever you are in an interaction with someone, if you come away from that interaction feeling drained or exhausted or depleted, there's been an energy transfer, and generally that has been one way. You've been drained of that.
Yes.
If you're coming in an interaction with somebody and there's been this reciprocal free back and forth, and we're sharing our challenges and our difficulties and our problems, but you feel better. You feel a little bit lighter. There's not a sense that you feel, you feel good. You feel like, oh, wow, that was so great. I had such a great time. What a wonderful conversation, and you feel buoyed by it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's a great way to know. And if that's happening to you, it'll start to indicate the people that are participating and engaged with you on one level, and those that are trying to take from you.
Exactly. It's like, don't let people treat you like God. And people's like, what does that mean? It's like they only think of you when they need you, when they're like on the lowest level, when they, need something. It's not means that they see you as God, it's just that they only remember you when that happens. And a lot of the times, there's times where I don't even have any money, but I find money to send to some people that they're in need, not thinking that they're gonna be grateful forever or anything, but at least, like if it's a sickness, let me know when you get better. They need, something, and it's like, okay, well, let me know that you got them. Things like that. Not always, not waiting for them to be grateful and kiss your feet, the rest of their lives, but at least to know something, and you find out, like, you send the money and then you never heard back from them.
Never heard back from them again.
Yeah. Until they need it again,
it's like, oh, wow, really? You're calling me?
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't have any. Oh, is there any way? No, there's no way.
And then they say nice things and sweet things, and you're the only one that I can talk to and all these things, and you're like, uh-huh.
Yeah,
okay,
I know why.
Sure,
I
know why. What is it? You want something?
I know. It's like, I met this model probably about 4 years ago. The first time I met her, like, she came all over me, like, oh, finally get to meet you, and I admire you, and blah, blah. It was, like, so sticky. Like, sticky, too much honey, too much sweetness, and I was like, and people was like, oh, don't you feel nice that, she's like, no. Like, there's something telling me inside, like your gut feeling, like something, and and then later, she turned to be like a crazy nightmare after, you helped out and everything, and it's like, I should have gone with my gut feeling.
That gut feeling 90% of the time is accurate. That is your intuitive system. That is your connection to God, life, your ancestors, all of that stuff is right there. And it's giving you a little hit. It's giving you, because it's a little warning. And the more you can learn to trust that, and one of the ways we have to learn how to trust that is we have to get burned. We just do. We get burned by it. And so then we start to trust it a little bit more and a little bit more. And it just gives you those clues because it knows things that we don't know.
Yes. It's seeing things that we can't see.
We can't see, exactly. It just does. And so being able to learn how to be able to trust that is really critical. And you know what, where it gets to be hard, I think, is in relationships. Because
we try to ignore it as much as we can.
Oh my gosh, we do.
We do.
We try to ignore it as much as we can. And because we don't want to, especially if we've been involved with someone for a bit of time and all of a sudden there's some of those uncomfortable feelings coming up and you're like, no, I don't want to stop it.
Yeah, like I know it's going to happen and no, it's not going to happen. So.
Yeah. Well, and you want them to love you for who you are And then if you've tried to be something for them that in some way you've sacrificed who you are in order to be that for them, so you've done a little act of self-betrayal in order to get to love them because you love them and you want them to love you back, and it's like this.
You want them to leave.
And you don't want them, yeah, you don't want them to leave, all those things. And so, it can be very difficult,
It's like you were saying, codependency kind of thing,
Yeah.
That's what it is, that we're like, okay, we'll do everything you want me to do. I'll be everything you want me to be just for you to be here. And we don't realize we're not even
we're not honoring
showing,
ours.
yeah, exactly. It's like, what about Mia? They're doing, and most of the time they don't do anything to make you happy.
No,
I mean,
I don't.
You're doing everything. Pretty much, you're the one that's standing the relationship. The one that is carrying it and everything. Because if it was for them, they would never call you even. So it's like, you're like, are you gonna call me? Are you gonna text me? And that's what it is. It's like, we're just wanted to keep the person when in reality, inside of you, this is not right.
Yeah. And a lot of times we're afraid to be alone. I certainly have, where it's been, difficult to be able to acknowledge and admit that. But I would sacrifice myself to be in a relationship, and then I would be wondering why I was so sad and so depressed and so this. But I forgot that, hey, I'm included in this relationship as well.
Is it like 50% of that relationship goes wrong?
It was my fault. And you know what? That was my fault for not saying, wait a second, I'm just as important in this relationship as you are.
Yes.
And no one should be, stealing or keeping, the other person from being that I shouldn't have to, keep a part of me outside the door. If I have to keep a part of me outside that door in order to make you happy, this is not going to work.
Exactly.
One
of these days, that side from outside is going to get tired of being outside, come in, and boom. Yeah. It's going to be hell.
Let's forget it.
So,
and that's why, knowing who you are, appreciating who you are. Loving who you are can be too much for some people, but you can care about yourself. You can have compassion for yourself. You can be kind to yourself. You can start doing the things that make you happy. So you can really and just accept who you are and get to that place of, this is who I am. And then the right people come in. Because we don't want to be, empathic people end up sacrificing. They do this over and over and over again. And so we have to recognize that we are just as valuable when we're involved in a relationship, whether it's business, whether it's intimate, whether it's family, whether it's friends, that we have to have that sense of my value is just as important as everybody else's.
Exactly. That's why I tell everybody, when they're, especially with time, like I said, time is like the most expensive gift that you can give to anybody because we never get it back. If if you tell me I'm going to call you, make sure you call me at the time because you don't know, you're never going to know what's behind everything I did to make that time available for you. So if you tell me, I'm going to call you at 2 p.m. Okay, make sure you call me at 2 p.m. because you don't know why I'm stopping or waiting for you to call so that way I can keep on going with my day. If I had to reschedule some stuff, if my kids are waiting for me to feed them, things like that. So when you call me at 2:10, for me, that was just disrespectful already because 10 minutes are 10 minutes. People say, it was just a little bit. It was 10 minutes. Do you know what I could do in 10 minutes? It's a lot of stuff, and especially when it's an hour or when you just don't call at all. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I've been waiting and stuff like that. You have to, your time is valuable as much as our time.
That's right.
So if you don't like people leaving you hanging, then we don't like it either.
We don't like it either.
Yeah.
Whatever you don't like, trust you. Most people are not on the receiving end of that, don't like that either.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody out there that likes to be, like waiting for anything, for anything, either a phone call, a text, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We had to move fast. And as far as if you cannot make it by 2 p.m., message me. Say, you know what, something came up. Don't message me at 1:59. Okay, that doesn't work either.
1:59 in 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's like, I cannot call you in 30 seconds. Like, no, at least tell me, as soon as like, I've been on a meeting. Well, if you saw you were in a meeting, you could have texted me about an hour ago and say, you know what, the meeting is running longer. I can't call you. It's like, okay, fine. Oh, I was out and it was so far. I was like, okay, if you knew like in that time you were not gonna make it to your house and call me, let me know, because I have a life too. It's not just you.
It's not me waiting just on you to call, at those times, and it's such a frustrating thing. It's for me too, because when you're dealing with people being on schedule, you're scheduling clients, you've got different things and so respecting people's time.
Yes.
And what that is just a simple regard, a due regard for the people that are around you, and respecting them and who they are, and it's just a way for us to be able to honor that. And when we don't, and we just think I'll just call them whenever, it makes us feel bad.
Yeah, and you know what? You kind of lose that respect for that person a little bit. Like I do. So I'm sorry to all of you that have let me hang it. When they're like, oh, so when can we talk again? Or when can we see each other again?
Mm-hmm.
Sometime. Sometime that I have time, because I'm not making time anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people say. It's like, well, I don't have time. It's like, I don't think any of us have time. We make time for things, so we prioritize things, and so we don't have time. It's just that we don't want to make the time for it.
Well, and I think as we get older too, Sylvia, we just start to recognize how precious time is.
Yes.
Time keeps marching on. Whether you like it or not, it's going to keep on going. All right, you can't stop it. You can't prevent it. You can't hold it back. You can't do anything. It's going to keep going. So if you're not being and respecting my time, you're taking away from the life that I could be leading, or being with somebody who wants to be with my at that time.
Exactly. There's somebody else
who really want to call me. Somebody else that really wants to sit next to me. Somebody else that really wants to do business with me. Somebody else that really wants to be able to engage. And so it's really, you start to say, my gosh, who are the kind of people I want to have in my life?
Yes.
Who do I want? Because the people in your life are going to be a reflection of you.
Yes.
And the 5 people that you spend the most time with are going to have some of the greatest influence on you. I mean, it's really important. So if you're hanging out with people who are not doing a whole lot in life, or they're just being lazy, procrastinating, not engaged, always having entitlement, feeling very entitled with life, like I deserve this and you don't deserve anything. None of us deserve anything. All right, we were given the greatest gift, which was life. And so, who do you hang out with? Are you hanging out with people who are, taking every moment of life and going after life, going to try to make a difference in the world? Are they trying to achieve their highest potential? Are they, what are they doing for the community? Are they being engaged in the community? People who are, I think that is one of the most I look for that. I cherish that. It's something that I think is really important, because you're starting to think outside of yourself. It's not just about me, it's about everybody else too.
Yeah, and you know what? It's pretty crazy, like, when you're saying that, because I notice, like, me volunteering at the kids' school, I see a lot of the moms, and they come and ask me, it's like, so how do you have the time? It's like, well, we usually make it,
That's right.
And they're like, oh, I didn't even came for my daughter's, little party, the classroom party for Halloween. I'm like, well, that's important for them, and me being there all the time, like, I seen little kids that they so attached to me just because I'm there all the time, and their mom is not, so they're always, Mrs. Tsuri, and they grab me and they hold me, and they're like, yeah, my mom didn't make it. And I was like, oh, did she have to work? No, she's at home. I'm like, here, my mind goes like, and I was like, okay, I was like, I can't believe it, like, seriously, and that's because those type of people, I think they're used to just think about themselves, I mean, some people were made parents without wanting to, I guess, but at the same time, when you want to have your kids, you want to have the most time that you can for them and be there for them. I mean, if a classroom party is important for them,
Go.
Be there.
Be there.
Yeah.
How much is it really going to cost you to go and just be there?
A field trip, you know? Like I'm a chaperone, you know, and sometimes I have like 10,000 kids and they probably put the worst ones on my group all the time, and I'm just like, oh God, and I just look at my kids, are you guys having fun? Yes, okay, we're good. But it's always, you know, there's sacrifices. There are things that you need to do too to life is not all about like what you want and that's all gonna be, you know, like a pink life. That doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist. And also, you know, I one of the things is I work with parents who are going through divorce to help set up parenting plans for their kids. One of the most important things I try to impart to them is spending time with your kids. Let them know you care.
Yes.
You know, if you are busy all the time and all you're doing is, you know, just you know, dropping off the child support payments and doing this and going off there, you don't realize the emotional and psychological damage that happens to your kids that leads to all kinds of problems when they become adults. Spend time with your kids. Go, enjoy, showing up. Be there when you say you're going to be there.
Yeah, that's
a
thing.
big one. Be there when you say you're going to be there.
Yes.
You know, I can't tell you how many times where the kids are excited and they're looking forward to being with the other parent, and that parent doesn't show up.
I know.
I mean, what you communicated to that's your child. You've communicated that you don't care, and that can leave huge scars.
And we understand it's life, things happen, and sometimes you can't make it, but, you know, try. I mean, it's not like 90% of the time something's going to happen, you know, and that's what happens, you know, like most of the time they don't show up and they think because the other parent is already there, you know, like nothing else matters, but it does. It matters to the kids. So, well, Sam, it's time.
Whoa.
Well, that went by fast, and I didn't see well, let me read the messages real quick. Dusan from Serbia, thank you so much, Dusan, for watching us. Carlos Portillo, el Guarache Veloz, de Rótulos Charlie, de Portillo's Remodeling. Gracias, amigo, por estarnos viendo. Good morning, what a great guest. Thank you so much. Dusan, Silvia, the most beautiful. Thank you. Not reading the whole thing. Thank you so much. One day. Thank you. Martinez, great discussion today. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. She's one of my best friends. Oh, there's my mama. Hola, lindo día para todos. Muy buenos días, mamá. She just, her birthday was on Friday. Happy late birthday, mama.
Happy birthday.
Amo. She was actually in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now she's back in Mexico. She went to celebrate it in Las Vegas. Yeah, there's Jorge Pedrosa. Mi amor, un besote. Te amo. He's from Juarez, Chihuahua. And that's all the messages I can see right now. So sorry if I don't see him. I probably will see him afterwards. So, but thank you, Charlie, so much for being here. And it's going to happen again because it seems like we have a lot to talk about.
We seem like we have because it went by really, really fast.
Yeah, really fast. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns about how to find out if you have any emotions that you need to work on, contact him, you know, and I'm pretty sure, you know, he'll be able to help you out with anything or to guide you, you know, and not everybody wants to have you probably for the whole process, but at least if you want to find out if there's anything wrong or if you already know what's wrong and you just want him to help you through the process of getting better, that can, you know, be another help too. So anything else you would like your audience to?
No, this has been such a treat. I mean, I've enjoyed this so immensely. This was so fantastic. And thank you for introducing me to your audience and to all your fans. And this has just been wonderful. And yes, like Sylvia said, if you want to reach out to me, you can go to my website, which is coresoulhealing.com. That's coresoulhealing.com, and just send me a message. And let's just, I spent many, many years working on this. And so if I can help you, I will.
And remember, his show is every Friday from 1 to 2?
Yeah, it's every other Friday from
every
1
other Friday.
Every other Friday from 1 to 2. I'm going to have Sylvia come on to my show.
Now it's my turn.
Now it's my turn to ask all the questions.
I'll be more than happy, and my pleasure to have you. Y como les digo, si tienen alguna pregunta, y si no hablan inglés, también yo les puedo traducir. Les puede ayudar con cualquier problema que tengan interno que quieran trabajarlo ustedes, por favor, o quieren saber nada más si tienen algún problema, por eso es que tienen cierto tipo de adicciones. Díganme y yo les mando el mensaje aquí a nuestro Charlie Pachelo. Su show es cada otro viernes de 1 de la tarde a 2 de la tarde y también tiene su website. Lo voy a poner el website en mi página, que si es too long to say, so, especially in Spanish, they're gonna miss it. So, lo voy a poner en mi página para que ustedes lo sigan también y como les digo, cualquier cosa pues pueden mandarme un mensaje a mí, yo se lo paso a él. Muchísimas gracias por haber estado con nosotros aquí en Canciones de Domingo con Silvia por KUHS de Radio y Televisión. Nos vemos el domingo que entra, ya veremos, estén al pendiente para nuestro invitado. And thank you so much, guys. And like I said, any type of questions, if you cannot reach Charlie, let me know. I'll transfer the information to him. And you know, like I said, please, if you have one of those empath friends, don't overload them with stuff, please. It is hard for us to say no. It is so hard for us to, you know, help you out. I mean, it's not hard helping you out, but it is hard for us to clean our energies, you know, from yours when there's something, you know, really heavy. So, you know, just take the advice and move on. You know, look for professional people. And yeah, if somebody says no, but they're still helping you with advice and stuff like that, be appreciative. It's hard.
It is hard, and it's always important to be able to stay honest with yourself, stay in integrity, do the right thing, say yes when you mean yes, say no when you mean no. Don't say yes when you mean no, and don't say no when you mean yes.
Yes, especially like when you're in a relationship. Be clear, you know.
Be very clear.
Yeah, even if that means that person is gonna go away, because a lot of times that's what we're afraid. Like, no, I'm gonna say no when I really mean to say yes, just because I don't want the person to leave.
I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah, it's like
that's when no.
Yeah, no. So just be clear, so that way things are laid out, and when something happens, like, it doesn't stay on you. You know, it's like at least I said what I needed to say, and that's it. So, well, thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you guys next Sunday. Stay tuned for our guest next week, and have a wonderful week. Love you guys. And here on the air, we continue with more music, and here's Juan Luis Guerra with Frío Frío.